Aloha and welcome back. Today we're going to look at some postures that we often call Hasta Mudra. Hasta means arm, Mudra means a seal. These are poses where we do arm work basically with the intention of opening the joints in the shoulders, the joints in the elbows, the wrists, and the knuckles. These poses also open the chest so that the lungs are well aerated, which is a really good thing at this time of when respiratory illness seems to be circulating all around us. And they also open the heart and create a strong and brave and courageous heart to help us to manage and to find some courage and stability amidst the constant change that's going on around us, and particularly at this time of COVID-19, it seems like every hour there's something new coming at us. The poses are seemingly very simple, but a few points to know about them are that we want to maintain, first and foremost, the verticality of the body. We want to maintain the upper body directly over the legs, the shoulders over the hips when we move the arms around. Now it's one thing to stay, and you can do these sequence standing in Tadasana, you can do it sitting in a chair as I am here. Maybe you'll turn sideways for some of them in the chair. You could also do the poses sitting on the floor in Virasana, in the hero pose, if you want. So I'll show some variations. You can practice in any way that you want on different days. You can use this as a little sequence all in one together, or you can take some of these poses and integrate them into your daily practice. So with that being said, we're going to stand for just a moment in Tadasana. So come to your Tadasana with your feet apart today. Because we're going to move the arms around, it's helpful to have the feet a little bit apart. They'll give you some more stability. Press evenly into the right and left foot. The inner edge of the foot, the big toe side, presses down. These inner ankles lift up so that the ankle bones are parallel to each other, the shin bones are parallel to each other, and the weight is evenly distributed on the inner and outer edges of your feet. See that the middle of the shin, the middle of the thigh line up as well. And as you press both feet evenly down into the floor, the inner and outer edges of the feet into the floor, lift the thighs up away from the knees. As you extend down from your buttocks to your heels, take the outer shoulders back so that they come over the waist, over the hips. Now this alignment here, you can see from the side, is such that my trunk is in one line. My trunk, my spine remains vertical here. What happens sometimes is when we move the arms is that this happens. Did you see? How this area here comes forward and this lower back area, this lumbar spine becomes overly concave. So for a minute, I want you to come, stand here, bring your hands to your ribs. These are your top ribs. This is your sternum, this is your breastbone. Find that. And then find the bottommost ribs that attach to the breastbone, right? These are your bottom ribs, top ribs, bottom ribs. And now go back here and find, there's ribs back here, but they don't attach to the breastbone. They end about here. Breastbone's up here. These are your floating ribs. And these floating ribs need to stay in the position that they're in when they're neutral, even though the arms move around. The floating ribs move away from the abdomen. The middle buttocks moves in, so that when I take the arms up or move the arms around, this shape doesn't happen. Now I want you to lie down on the floor. You can lie on a mat or just directly on the floor with your knees bent. Hold the sides of the mat, take the tops of the shoulders toward the floor, and adjust your buttocks. Move the top buttocks, the flesh of the buttocks, toward the heels, and the sides of your trunk away from your waist. Now, find those floating ribs and move those down towards the floor. Away from the abdomen. Extend the legs and continue to move these floating ribs toward the floor. Now raise your arms up over your head and see how the floating ribs want to come up toward the abdomen, but move the floating ribs away from the front of the abdomen as you extend the arms over your head. Then bring the arms back down, bend your knees, roll to your side, and come up and stand. The first pose that we're going to do comes from Tadasana. So find Tadasana again, equal weight in both feet. Ankle bones parallel, shin bones parallel, middle of the thigh, above the middle of the shin, above the middle of the ankle. So this alignment of the bones helps to align the gross muscles of the body in such a way that the energy used to do that is minimized. So we want to conserve energy, create stability, and bring some movement into the arms. So from Tadasana now, I'm going to raise the arms up, take them forward and up to Urdhva Hastasana, the raised arms pose. I continue to press the feet down, the back of the thigh, back of the calf, the back of the heel, center of the heel presses toward the floor. The thighs lift up away from my knees. And I begin the stretch of the arms from the sides of the waist to the armpits, from the armpits to the elbows, from the elbows to the wrists, and from the wrists out through the fingers. And then release the arms back down. Now, in Tadasana, I want you to find your armpits. This is the back of the armpit, this is the front, this is the bottom, this is the top. And in Tadasana, we're going to coil the armpit from the back to the front and from the bottom to the top, so that it's like a rainbow shape. And feel what happens when you do that. Arms are by the side, palms face the hips. Now coil the armpit from the back to the front, the bottom to the top, and see how the shoulder bones roll back and down when you do that. The collarbones spread, the chest opens, and the shoulder blades here between, right down the center on either side of my spine here, move into my body. The dome shape of my back gets reduced. It becomes more concave as the shoulder blades move in. So now I'm going to continue to coil the armpits and raise the right arm up. I take the left hand with the thumb facing toward my head and turn this upper arm so that the thumb rolls in towards my ear. The upper arm turns so that the tricep rolls in, the bicep rolls out from the inside out. And then I use my left hand to raise the right arm higher, all the way from the side of my waist, through my armpit, through my elbow, through my wrist, and through my finger. Then release that arm and feel the difference in the two arms. My right arm feels much longer. I created space here in the armpit, here on the sides of my trunk, from that little bit of work. So now the left arm comes up, take the right hand around with the thumb pointing inward, thumb and index finger around the bulk of the arm here. I roll that upper arm in, the thumb rolls toward my ear, take it back alongside my ear, or even behind my ear, and now raise that arm up. From the side of your waist, extend all the way up through the armpit, the elbow, the wrist, and the fingers, maximizing the length and the space in the side ribs, the armpit, and all the way up through the arm. And then release the arms back down along your sides. Now we're going to take Urdhva Hastasana, but the arms will come from the sides. So extend your arms out to the side. Keep the feet parallel. Keep the inner ankles lifting up so the ankles are parallel, shins are parallel, heels press down, calf muscle presses down, thighs lift up. And now keep these bottom ribs, these floating ribs, moving back away from your t-shirt as you turn the arms so that the palms come up. So I'm not turning the wrist, but I'm turning the upper arm the same way that I did in the last pose. Now from here, roll the thumbs down toward the floor and keep the fingers in line to the shoulders. There's a tendency here to go back further, but when I go back further, pinching happens and I lose this space. So I want to keep the arms in line to the shoulders, the fingers in line to the shoulders, and now from here, I reach the arms up to Urdhva Hastasana. From the sides of the waist, through the armpits, the elbows, the wrists, and the fingers, I extend as the legs press down, the sides of the trunk come up, and I move my floating ribs back, away from the t-shirt, and the middle part of my buttocks forward towards the wall in front of me. And then the arms come back down along the sides the same way that they came up, and stand in Tadasana. The next pose is Urdhva, means upward, Padangilyasana, bound fingers pose. I'll show this one in the chair. You could have done the last one in the chair as well. But sitting in the chair, for those of you that are going to do the practice in the chair, you want to have the feet parallel again. Now, the shoulders again have to stay over the waist. And the same thing can happen here. When I sit, when I move the arms, you see me tip forward. So the floating ribs again move back away from the abdomen. This middle part of my buttocks moves inwards. Now, take the arms in front, interlace the fingers all the way to the webs. Extend from the armpit all the way out through the fingers, and then turn the palms to face forward. Pull the elbows in toward each other and take the arms up. Keep the fingers close together, elbows in, and press the palms to the ceiling. From the sides of the waist all the way up through the palms, extend and come down. Switch the interlace of your fingers so that the little finger that's on the bottom switches. Press the palms forward, pull the elbows in. Keep the floating ribs here, moving back, away from the abdomen as you take the arms up. Pull the elbows in, extend out through the palms, keep the fingers close together, and then release. We're going to repeat the pose now and open this armpit area, this back of the armpit area, a little bit more. So, interlace the first way again, press the palms forward, and take them up. Keeping the fingers as close together as you can, press the palms to the ceiling and look up. And notice that your thumbs are probably lower than your pinky fingers. Take the thumb higher than the pinky finger and extend out through the palms. And feel how that armpit area opens a little bit more when you do that. Head comes back to face the center. And then release down, switch your interlace, and go back up again. Knuckles all the way, fingers interlaced to the webs. Extend forward, pull the elbows in. Keep the thighs and feet pressing down if you're sitting. Stay in your Tadasana if you're in Tadasana. Keep the floating ribs moving back in either pose. And now look up and move your thumbs up higher than your pinkies. And feel the back of the armpit area opening even more. When you do that, bring your head back to center, and then exhale, release, and take the arms back down along your sides. Now, for the next pose, well, the pose coming up after the next pose, okay, you're going to need a belt. So if you don't have a belt, go ahead and get a belt ready now. But we're going to do one more pose before we use the belt. And that's Urdhva, means again, upward, Namaskarasana. This is Namaskarasana, when we bring the palms to Namaskar in front of the heart. So we're going to take the pose today from Urdhva Hastasana, arms to the side, that we did the last time we did Urdhva Hastasana. So again, this could be done seated, but for now I'm back in Tadasana. I'm going to roll the upper arms from the inside out so that the palms face the ceiling. I keep the fingers in line to the shoulders and roll my thumbs toward the floor to move the shoulder blades deeper into my back and open that chest, express that courageous heart even more. And now from here, I reach the arms up and see, I can look up, can I bring the palms together but keep the elbows straight? If you're able to do that, press the palms into one another, extend, press the heel of the palm into each other, heels of the palms, and extend through the fingers. Pull the elbows in close to one another. If your elbows bend, come back to Urdhva Hastasana to a level where the elbows stay extended fully. And then release the arms back down to your side and come up. Now you're going to take a belt. This could be any belt, could be a piece of rope, could be any length of something to approximate a belt, but it has to have some flexibility, so a leather hard belt probably won't work here. And I have no loop in my belt. I'm going to take this belt between my thumb and index finger. Do you see how I have the belt? Now you get your belt, come back, stand in Tadasana. You can take your legs wide for this pose because we're going to move the arms a lot. We're going to take the arms and the shoulders through their full range of motion here. So the first thing I do is extend the arms, keep the thumb and the belt between the thumb and index finger, and pull it apart. Now from here I take the belt back over my head. So you do this. Now when I get to a certain point, my elbows want to bend. So I have to go longer on the belt to keep the elbows extending. And now we're going to go back and forth. The belt forward, keep the legs at Tadasana, equal weight in the right and left foot, inner ankles lifting up, inner thighs lifting up, top buttocks all the way to the heels. So the top buttocks moves toward the heels press down, the calf muscle moves down. Continue to move forward and back as you pull the belt apart. The next time the belt's behind you now, continue to pull it apart and take the belt on a diagonal. Use the arms to pull the belt apart and move back and forth in this direction. Notice here your pelvis, and if you're beginning to tilt the pelvis, pull the bottom ribs, those floating ribs back, and move the middle part of your buttocks inward so that this shape doesn't happen. Continue to pull the belt apart, keeping the elbows straight, moving from side to side in this manner. And then come back, take the belt behind you, and now you're going to make circles. Keep the elbows firm, and take the shoulders through this rotational movement. If your elbows bend, you may need to go longer on your belt. And you can see here I'm moving the upper body a little bit. I'm moving the shoulders, but my hips aren't moving. My hips, my pelvis stay neutral, stay level. And I'm really generating this movement from the shoulders. And then pause and go the other direction. And feel the difference on one side and the other. You'll get to that place where there's a catch. You may have to lengthen your belt so that you can continue to pull the elbows apart, continue to pull the belt apart and keep the elbows extending maximum. And then come back to the center, release your belt, and you can go ahead and put your belt away for now. This next gesture, or mudra, we call Baddha Mani Mudra. Mani are your wrists, Baddha means bound. It's bound wrists mudra, or seal. So this opens the shoulders in a different way, and it gets that armpit area moving from the back to the front, and then from the bottom to the top. That coiling action that we described a little bit earlier. So for this pose, I'm going to reach behind, stand in Tadasana. Your feet can be apart. In fact, I encourage them apart for this particular work. Take your left hand, hold your right wrist. Take the thumb around too. Don't let your thumb hang back. Take the thumb with the other 4 fingers and pull down. As I pull down, I feel the trapezius muscle here releasing away from the back of my neck. I want to focus on the armpits now, and you see how my shoulders are coming forward. When I coil the armpit from the back to the front and the bottom to the top, the upper arm bones roll down, the chest opens, and that courageous heart can shine forward. Now switch the hands and repeat on the other side. So again, use your right hand to pull the left down. Spread across your collarbones here. Release the collarbones away from the sides of the neck to broaden and open the chest more. And then again, you see my shoulders roll forward here. I want to coil the armpits from the back to the front and the bottom to the top again so that this chest gets expressed. Now release your arms. Next is Hasta Mudra. Bada, bound, Hasta, arms. So I'm going to take my left hand now and reach back for my right elbow. And if I can, hold even a little bit above the elbow. I keep the right arm extending down. So do this with me if you haven't already. And I coil the armpits again to roll the shoulder bones back and down. Now if you're tighter in the shoulders, this will be your maximum. If you have more mobility in your shoulders, you'll reach this arm around and hold the opposite elbow. And feel how the arms against your back keep that chest open. They keep the shoulder blades moving deep into your back. They reduce the dome shape. And now again, coil the armpits from the back to the front, the bottom to the top, so that the shoulder bones roll down and the chest opens more. Now switch sides. So take your right hand now, hold your left elbow, or just above the elbow. If you're stiff, again, you keep this arm down and extend from the armpit through the fingers and roll the bound arm back. If you have the mobility to hold both elbows. Coil the armpits again from the back to the front and the bottom to the top. Keep the floating ribs moving back away from the front of the t-shirt. And release your arms back down. Next, we prepare for Gomukhasana. Gomukhasana is the cow face pose. So, the final pose is done. You can do this again seated, standing, or seated in Virasana, in a chair or in Virasana on the floor. I'm going to stay standing. Okay. So let's do these poses one arm at a time. Okay? So to begin with, I'm going to raise my right arm up. As we did earlier in the sequence, I roll this upper arm from the inside out. Now I'm going to keep the upper arm turning, keep the elbow in close to my ear, and place the hand with the palm down against, between my shoulder blades here. I continue, then I take my left hand on the right elbow, move it in toward my ear and back to open the armpit even more. The floating ribs now really want to push forward. I take them back and move the middle buttocks in forward toward the wall in front of me. Then repeat on the other side. Left arm comes up, elbow rolls in, upper arm rolls in. The right hand comes on top. I move the elbow in and take it back. As the elbows go back here, the armpits go forward. And I get that opening through this whole armpit chest area. Where was I? Okay. And then out we come. Now bottom arm Gomukhasana is a bit more challenging sometimes. So to start with, I take the left arm back behind me and have the back of the palm facing upwards. Fingers facing up, facing against the back, fingers facing upwards. And again, do you see how the shoulder's rolling forward here? I want to coil that armpit again, move the floating ribs back so that I get this opening, deep opening in the chest and in the shoulder joint. And then we repeat on the other side. You repeat the other side now. Now those of you who are stiff and have difficulty with this motion can take a belt and make a small loop in the belt. Those of you who just finished the second side are going to return and do the bottom arm again on the first side, okay? See here how I take my belt around my right wrist, okay? Take it over my left shoulder, and now I use the belt to lift this arm up a little higher. Can you see? So this is yet another way to work for the bottom arm in Gomukhasa. Switch sides now. Take the left hand back, or the opposite side from what you did, and do the bottom arm again. With or without the belt. Keeping this armpit going back to front, bottom to top. Keeping the floating ribs back, middle buttocks in. And then release. Now, full Gomukhasa. We grab the fingers, right? We reach the fingers and pull the arms apart in this pose. One way to do that, if you can do that now, go ahead and do your Gomukhasa. But I know that many of you, because you're my students, have difficulty with one or both sides. So we're going to start, everybody. I'm going to show it with the belt. If you don't need the belt, then by all means don't use the belt. So the belt could be used on the wrist like we did in the last pose, and then take the top arm up. Or you could place the belt over your left shoulder. Reach around with the right arm and walk up the belt. Take the left arm up into the upper arm position, hold the belt and pull it apart. You see how this elbow wants to roll out? I'm going to move the elbow in toward my ear, keep the upper arm turning from the inside out as I pull the belt apart. Both armpits coil from the back to the front, bottom to the top, both shoulders move back, tops of the shoulders move down. And then switching sides, left arm on the bottom. If you're using the belt, it goes over your right shoulder, and repeat. Or take the full pose, those of you who can. Clasp the fingers and pull the arms apart. Continue to move the tops of the shoulders back and down. Coil the armpits from the back to the front to keep this armpit chest opening wide. And then release and come back and stand in Tadasana or back to your seated position. Now we come to Paschima Namaskarasana. Paschima is the west side of the body. It's the back of the body. Namaskar we did here, and we did Urdhva Namaskarasana today, right? So Paschima Namaskarasana is Namaskar behind the back. So the first position for this, and if you're stiffer in the shoulders or the wrists or the knuckles, this can be difficult, but it can also be therapeutic. So one way to start is to just bring the palms together here. Thumbs are against my tailbone. I move the floating ribs back, pull the elbows in, and press the palms toward each other. This is good work right here, and maybe your work for right now. Those of you who can will come a little bit further in the pose. It helps to have your t-shirt tucked in here so it doesn't get bunched up. Then I bring the palms together and turn them so that the fingers face upwards. Now in this position, I want to press the palms together as much as possible and pull the elbows down. The elbows want to lift up and go out to the sides here, but it's important to pull them down towards the floor and then slide the arms up my back as high as possible and continue to press the palms together. Press the fingers together. Keep the elbows moving down, shoulder blades spreading, tops of the shoulder blades spreading, collarbones spreading away from the sides of my neck, and the armpits again are coiling from the back to the front, bottom to the top, to keep that chest open. My floating ribs here move back, my middle buttocks moves in, and I take a few more breaths, Paschima Namaskarasana. And then slowly release the palms. Don't shake your hands out after this pose. just let the arms return to their resting space. Mahalo, namaskar.